Hey guys, it's a market update. I want to focus on the next 6 to 12 months for the rest of this bull market in 2025 because this is the bull market year. We've already done really well. But if you look at some of the charts here, they are still showing me that there are buyers willing to pay these prices. And, I think we go higher with a few bits of good news and maybe a lot of the inflation figures working out, which they seem to be. So I want to go over that in this video. But if you look at the Bitcoin chart right here on the daily, look, this 100K level is obviously massive. We're probably going to trade around it for a while. But if you kind of zoom in on the daily chart here, we have this resistance level that we tried to break through, immediately rejected. We come back and test it again, rejected again. We break through it again. We have been rejected a couple of times and turned this resistance into support. I mean, there's nothing else you can ask for, right? Maybe we test it again, maybe we come a bit lower, we don't know. But looking forward to the next 6 to 12 months, there's so much coming out, right? SAB 121 is going to be repealed. There's going to be a task force here bringing in crypto to the US, right? Which is just the best news for this industry. Both Bitcoin and crypto look to be going. So I just think it's great news and happy to remain long here. This is the Ethereum chart as well, which just looks insanely good, right? If you look at the long-term chart, Ethereum's been absolutely bashed this cycle. Everyone's capitulating. It's outperformed the NASDAQ, right? So only in crypto do you outperform the NASDAQ and everyone's like, oh God, boring, right? This is a great chart. It's literally just hitting higher highs, higher lows. And this is, if we break through this, then range highs and higher. So I think both charts look great and a bunch of other charts look great as well. Now, if you do trade crypto, go down to the description, $30,000 as a deposit bonus on Bybit, if you can trade on there. If you can't, check out Bybit's decentralized exchange, which is Apex. This is insanely good. You can trade across all chains in the spot market and trade futures as well, just from your crypto wallet. I think this is a future, to be honest. It's awesome. So I'll leave that link below as well, because you can get a permanent fee discount on there. There is a lot of noise creeping into the market, right? It's very noisy, a lot of opinions coming around. Strategic reserve, is it happening or not? How's it going to happen? So I just want to focus on the signal here, because 2025, if you look at the Bitcoin cycle, should be the year that we peak out in a bull market and then go back into a bear market for 2026. But maybe that doesn't happen. Maybe we go a bit longer. All of that's kind of uncertain, but I just want to focus on what I think is good. And then just back to the Bitcoin cycle is that if all of the metrics are showing that we're really topping out, then that's when I want to get cautious. But for now, none of those are. So you can see here from TechDev some great charts here. Basically, the previous two bull markets, you see we top out for this metric right here. We aren't there yet. If you look at every other metric, MVRV, AVIV as well, none of them show we're topping out. So I remain bullish, and the charts just look like that as well. US strategic Bitcoin reserve pretty much confirmed. I'm not sure. Look, this is a subcommittee on digital assets. This has to go through Congress. This is a long process. I think people were thinking that Trump would just sign an executive order and just buy $100 billion of Bitcoin. I just don't think that's going to work like that. If you're looking at these reserves, what we can see from a Saylor post is that lots of states are doing this. I think this is the best way to actually do this, is leave it up to the states. They have pension funds and public funds that they manage. Just leave it to them, and if they want to bring it on, they can. But the federal government doing it opens up a massive can of worms with international trade and all of that. And, I just think this is very positive, but I think the whole, federal government just buying Bitcoin and printing dollars to do so, I think there's a lot more around that, and I think it's going to take a lot longer. In any case, it's not just Bitcoin, it's crypto as well, right? And that's because of many reasons, but it's an industry, and America wants to be first, and that's great because a lot of innovation is coming, and investment and money flows into that. So Larry Fink says he wants to tokenize everything at BlackRock. What chain is that going to happen on? Probably Ethereum. They have the Ethereum ETF, and they were asked about other ETFs, and they said for them, they weren't really interested. Now, other ETFs are coming, I think, right? XRP, Solana maybe, I think Litecoin, some others. Everything will have an ETF that does enough trade volume, because that's how they make money. Trade volume, right? Management fees. So they'll issue everything that has enough trade volume. But BlackRock are clearly wanting to tokenize on Ethereum, most likely, which I think is very positive for Ethereum as well over the long term, even though it's been sold off a bit recently and everyone's capitulating. It's capitulating because the crypto people that were in it before felt like it was for them. Ethereum's now moving into institutional type assets and that sort of thing. And so those crypto people feel like they're losing control of it, or it's not for them anymore. Well, it's not for you. It's moving to the institutional space. And so it's going to feel like it's failing or not moving for you, but actually it's just going to a different space. And that's what they've chosen. If you look at Solana, it's way more retail focused. Everyone says that's got the narrative. Yeah, for retail institutions, completely different markets. So Ethereum's going institutional, which makes it a little less volatile, but also that's great for some people who want a little less volatility and a little bit more kind of confidence in that it's going to be around for a long time. So, pick your coins and pick one that you actually want to invest in, or a couple of them. But yeah, Ethereum's not going anywhere. I want to focus on some other metrics here that are really important, I think, for this cycle, because look, they are trying to sort out their debt to GDP, right, in the States. And so you can't cut spending. It's absolutely impossible. It's literally impossible. You have Social Security and all that, and Trump has said himself he doesn't want to cut that. The best you can do is not cut spending. You can't do that. The best you can do on a real basis is try and freeze, on a real basis, the increase of spending if you can, or at least slow that rate. Really, it's the GDP side that you have to grow. And that's bullish for assets. But they don't want to do it by creating more government debt, right? Which means you have to go over to the private market and say, invest, create credit, increase GDP, increase activity. And that's what they're doing, to be fair, right? The OpenAI, Microsoft thing with God knows how much money invested. Yesterday, Trump said Saudi need to invest $1 trillion in the States. He's going at the World Economic Forum saying, make your stuff in America. That brings GDP back. And they're trying to sort out their debt to GDP. All of this is positive for risk assets, I think, over this year, because it's the credit cycle, right? That he wants banks to create credit to invest. He wants other investors from around the world that maybe have, investment funds, bring it into the States, grow the GDP. If you're growing GDP, that means inflation remains pretty high. And maybe on the government side, you can try and pull back some of that spending a little bit, but then replace it with private sector. That's great news. This is going to be super volatile as well. We may get a few quarters or some GDP figures that come in a bit soft, or we don't really know, right? And so that is the uncertainty here, as always. However, it's clear that we are going into an expansionary credit cycle, right? That's what Trump wants. That's what the admin wants. He's saying expand credit. That's what he's saying. Come to America, expand credit. If that's happening, then GDP and inflation will remain there, and that's good for risk assets. So as you can see, banks are going to be a major force. Very good news. That will all be unlocked because they want this credit cycle to be going. This is Trump's World Liberty Fi buying ETH and BTC, Tron as well, a couple of others. So yeah, look, these guys are positioning, and that's all we need to know. And I think that especially around the rest of the world, they need a huge credit impulse. Huge credit impulse. This is the euro area. I mean, it's basically flatlined, right? It's dead. It's dying. This is when you're in hospital in movies where they shock the guy and it goes, and then he goes, and it's like, that is what the euro area is doing. It's absolutely dead. So they need a massive credit impulse as well, and stimulus, and it usually comes from the government side there, which means inflation, means GDP higher through currency debasement, essentially. This is the total rent index, which is coming way down. This is the lagging indicator that moves CPI the most. And so this is lagging and it's coming down, which will drag inflation a bit lower and will create the room for a credit cycle impulse, potentially from the private market and if needed from the central bank as well. So it all looks pretty good for me. Volatility, yes, but all of these metrics are looking pretty good for the rest of this credit cycle. This is the high yield credit cycle versus BTC. As you can see here, they are one and the same. So as credit sells off here, you get the bear market for Bitcoin. As we move back up and it gets bid up, Bitcoin goes up. Bear market for both, bull market for both, bull market for both, bear market. Now we're moving up. But this is not a peak in the credit cycle, is it? We could potentially go much higher in the credit cycle, which means much higher for BTC as well. So yeah, I'm still well positive for this year overall. Yes, there's going to be a lot of volatility, but look, you take risk, right? And you're in this growth asset class and everything's looking very, very good and not topping out at all. Make sure to get that deposit bonus to Bybit if you can trade on there. Not every country can trade, but Bybit's DEX is insanely good as well. Futures and spot. And you can just trade directly from your wallet. You get a permanent fee discount on Apex as well by the link below. I'm James, it's MoneyZG. Cheers for watching and I'll see you in the next one.